So we're going to get ready to get started. We have, again, today's presentation will be about needs and asset planning. We have two amazing presenters that we will get to in the next few minutes that are here to share their experiences in regards to doing the needs and asset planning in their own districts. We have someone that's going to talk about a more rural approach in a rural district. And then we also have someone that's kind of from a larger high school district. So we're all excited to have you here. If you have not done so, please go ahead and sign in. There is a link in the chat for you to sign in, but we'll go ahead and get started. Like always, we want to introduce you to the team that is supporting the work at the Central Coast. We are, again, the Central Coast RTAC, and this is our team. We have senior management as well as the coordinators that are going to be supporting all of you, depending on the district that you're in. And for today's presentation, I will be facilitating the meeting. I represent and I provide support to Monterey County participants, and Junue Partida will also be co-facilitating, and she provides support to Santa Barbara. A little bit about why we're here today. So we're here to learn together. This is a space that's open. We're here to engage and learn best practices and tips from each other. And again, if you ever need additional support aside from today's presentation in regards to this or any other topic, we are all available via email, via phone, and we can definitely make an appointment to come and see you in person if you need it. So again, today's agenda, we're going to be going over some tools, and there will be a link to the agenda in the chat. So the tools are designed by both the STAC, which is the State Transformational Assistance Center, and we just want to review some of the tools that hopefully will make the needs and asset planning a lot easier and help you if you haven't started or regardless of what step you are. We're going to be going over those tools, and then we did bring two speakers that are from the field that are going to be providing their experiences. So for our icebreaker, please in the chat, if you can share the name of a memorable school event or a moment and why it was memorable to you. So it could be something from when you were a student, it could be something from if you're an educator, a chaperone, anything that kind of stood out for you. And then again, just please type it in the chat, and Junue will be reading off some responses. So Junue, if you want to help us read some responses as they start coming in.
Okay. If anyone has anything to share, go right ahead and put it in the chat. Career day, Dr. Vela, I was in high school, opened my eyes to careers I had not heard about. That's wonderful. So yeah, just share anything that inspired you when you were a student or a parent that involved education. It's a way to get us thinking and on track about why we're doing this work, what we'd like for our students and our teachers as we pursue this community school work. Sixth grade science camp, Jose Segura, as a student, first time away from home. Wow, that's a big deal. That did not involve relatives. That's wonderful. That's a great experience as a sixth grader. Babette, 50th high school reunion. Wow, that's awesome. Amazing. Jennifer, the first thing is playing in our band concerts. Oh, we have a band former band member there. That's great. Khalees. This Saturday, we had our second Halloween bash. That's wonderful to see families in the community get together. The kids got to slime the teacher. Yeah, that's awesome with the pumpkin guts. Chandelier, youth leadership, speech and debate opportunities. Those are great opportunities. Wonderful. Thank you for sharing. And Yvette, I won a spelling bee contest in middle school. Oh, that's cool. And you were an EL student. Awesome. So all that hard work paid off, huh, Yvette? So everyone, thank you for sharing. And again, these are just some moments to share and highlight from our own educational experiences. That remind us, why we're doing this work and what we want for our students.
Great. Thank you for helping with that, Junue. As always, we want to go over to really remind ourselves of the work that we're going to be doing around community schools. So we always want to take a moment to step back and really go over the California Community School Framework and really focus on why we're doing the sessions and really understand how this relates to the larger, broader picture of community schools. So for today's topic, under the cornerstone commitments, we will be definitely sharing a lot about number one, which is a commitment to asset-driven and strengths-based practice. And when it comes to the proven practices, we will also be discussing, again, number one, which is community asset mapping and gap analysis. So when we think of the work, these are kind of the early building blocks of the community school work and the framework that the State Transformational Assistance Center team put together. What we will be doing today is just doing a general overview of the needs and asset planning assessment tool. The tool is linked here in the presentation, and Junwei will also be dropping the link on the chat. And again, this is just a document that they put together over the summer that is meant to kind of support districts and LEAs, regardless of what stage of the process they are in regards to the need and asset planning assessment. So what we're going to be doing today is we're going to take a deep dive and really break down that 16-page document and go over some of the main points and highlights. And after we're done with that, we are going to share and learn from experts in the field. So with that being said, here we go. And I'll pass it over to Junwei.
All right. So I just wanted to mention that the way the presentation is structured, the slide content is addressed on the page that's linked right above. So STAC-D Needs and Assets Assessment Guide, page 3. So if you'd like to reference this section, feel free at your own leisure when you have a free time to go and review maybe that section and where this content came from. So essentially, everyone's done some type of needs and assets assessment work prior. I know everyone comes with a lot of experience working for schools at the site level, at the district level, at the county office level. And as you know, the NAA is a collaboratively developed by, for, and with interest holders in mind. So students, staff, families, and community members. So this is just to emphasize that a needs and assets assessment is not new. Many of you have participated in these before, again, as a leadership member, as a teacher, maybe even as a parent. It is something that can seem intimidating, but you have experience being involved in these type of planning processes and documentation that we're discussing right now. Next slide. Okay, so essentially, what is a needs and assets assessment? So initiating that needs and assets assessment should be composed of understanding what the purpose is of the needs and assets assessment, identifying leaders, and promoting the work. So this is the foundation of needs and assets assessment planning. I think sometimes people may get overwhelmed by the idea that this large survey that you have to get out to 100% of your community members and your stakeholder groups. And that's just one aspect of deep engagement with stakeholders. That's only one way to get that deep engagement. We wanted to emphasize here today that there are many other methods to engage your stakeholder groups aside from surveys. And if you have multiple levels of engagement with your stakeholders, you'll definitely meet that 75 to 100% threshold. Again, the needs and assessment planning process is the work. Again, some people feel like unless they have a comprehensive survey ready to go in a month or two, that means you did the work. But no, this process can take anywhere from 6 to 12 months, as explained in the needs and assessment planning guide. So if you are engaged in the work, working on teams, brainstorming, communicating with stakeholders, that is the needs and assessment planning process work. And in this presentation, I linked the video from Rachel Bryce. She did speak at the Collective Learning Space on this topic exactly. So if you have time and you didn't review that, that would be great to review at some time later. Next slide. Okay, so developing the needs and assets assessment plan. Again, I just wanted to reemphasize that on this work, your team will outline multiple avenues of engagement. You'll think of places and opportunities to meaningfully engage stakeholders, employ a variety of listening methods. So you want to make sure you tailor them to each group. So if surveys doesn't work well with your parents, maybe interviews might work well with your parents, or community dialogue and more open forum meetings might work best for your parents. Other methods might work better with your students. So just brainstorm methods and ways, and also consider the history of how your LEA or your school has addressed these methods prior, because typically you will utilize the same methods. Give consideration to languages spoken and accessibility to ensure maximum and equitable participation. And of course, the disaggregated supermajority, that really does stand out because that percentage is very high. However, in the next couple of slides, we'll do a sample overview of how that can be accomplished, that percent. Okay, so to develop the depth and diversity of engagement, of course, teams must set engagement targets. It's something that's very purposeful and strategic, and applying these strong methods will result in a plan of action for your community schools work, which is critical. And again, speakers from the field, voices from the field will emphasize all these items as far as how they impacted their needs and assessment planning process.
So again, this is a review of engagement avenues and listening methods. That's just a fancy way of saying things you can do in order to gather information from your LEA, from your parents, from your families, from your students, from your community members, like Junwei mentioned. And here are some of the examples. So things that you can do. Of course, a lot of us maybe are familiar with surveys, but in addition to surveys, we can do one-on-one interviews, maybe for if we notice that a particular group isn't answering the survey, or maybe we really want to know what the students, the 9th grade English students, think about a particular topic. There's also opportunity to do empathy mapping and empathy walks, as well as visioning exercises. So with these exercises in mind, we just kind of wanted to show you an example of what you can expect to receive if you were to try to do this survey at your own school. So for example, the yellow sections that are highlighted, those are the methods that yielded at least 75% of responses. So as you see, surveys has about the highest responses from the other categories. And then it also tells you where they got the information. So for example, the surveys, they got Google form reports. So when you use Google surveys, it usually breaks down the surveys that you conduct by question, by grade level, depending on what you write. Another that's really that for this particular graph shows visioning exercises. And when you have time, we're going to share the slide deck. So you'd be able to go click on visioning exercises and see what that was like. This particular school got these results from that particular method, and they did it by receiving participant feedback. And then there's other methods, like for example, focus groups, that maybe they got 25%. And then this is how they track the responses. So again, these are just some tools that you can utilize. We understand that everything is going to look different to our communities. But like Junwei said, this is a process that will take anywhere from 6 to 12 months. We really want to do the work from a lens of equity and a lens of reaching out to the students and the families that we're serving. So we really want to take our time to develop our surveys. Again, here are the steps that maybe will support us into creating our needs and asset planning. The first step is really grounding in history and context, and really understanding how the historical and social forces have shaped the current reality of the community we live in. This might change day to day, year to year, but we really want to understand the historical context that we in the community that we're working with, or the students and families that we're serving, are experiencing. Number two, we want to really analyze existing data, and this could be surveys done at the schools. Here in Monterey County, when I was developing the needs and assets survey for our school, I looked at other data like the Impact Monterey County, the Youth Truth, and other data that was already available. So this is something that doesn't have to be built from scratch. We are allowed to use other resources. And last, or next, I should say, is step number 3, really planning and creating structures that are going to support us getting that 75 to 100%. And here we're going to see how that can be done. For example, we could do team mapping and really see what is the purpose of composition of existing teams. That could be school site council, that could be meetings that are already taking place, how are decisions being made, and also identifying leaders in our community or in our school that are going to help us disseminate the surveys and really help us gather that data, the interviews, whatever method we choose to have. And again, just a reminder that this process does take 6 to 12 months, but it's really about engaging stakeholders and really achieving the targets. So some of the things that we can use to plan for creating structures and teams is really analyzing what we have already. For example, if we have a family team, sometimes it could be social workers, it could be teachers, it could be a counselor, it could also be family members or parents that are involved in the process, and really identifying who's going to be our champion parent that is going to ensure that all of the other members from that particular group respond to the surveys. The next one would be staff. So who's going to be our champion teacher or champion principal, vice principal, that's really going to push the assessment, the needs assessment out. Same thing with students. Depending on the grade, it could be ASB students, not always them, but it could also be students that maybe need that extra push. And then the community team, our advisory council, who on our council is going to be, taking that front steps and really being at the forefront of really getting and gathering all that data. So once we have identified the leads, then they would contribute to helping out with the surveys or the interviews, whatever method we choose. And then that survey will then inform our school-based leadership teams about what we want to do with that information and what steps we want to take in the community school work. We know we've been kind of talking for a minute, and now we want to turn it over to some of the voices from our field and our guest presenters that we have today. So first we have Rhonda Evans. She is the Director of Community Schools in the Eureka City Schools located in Humboldt, California, and they have implementation grant year 1 and 2. And with that being said, Rhonda, thank you so much for being here. I'm going to stop sharing my screen so that you can share your screen and tell us about all the amazing things you've been doing in your district.
Oh, thank you, Herminia. It was, thank you for having me here. I appreciate it. I'm going to find my tab that here we go. Yes, this is the one I want. All right. Can you see my screen okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Great. Okay. We met in New York 2 weeks ago, and you asked me to share about community schools and what we're doing here in Eureka. So I'd like to just share out how we're dealing with increasing our family and community engagement. So our round 1 of community schools was awarded in 22-23. We had 3 elementary schools with myself, a BCBA, community schools teachers, and restorative practices support specialists. We combined with some school-based mental health planning grants. We received round 2 of a community schools grant. So we grew from 3 schools to 8 schools with our new round of implementation. So we have 2 implementation grants. And then we were just awarded a Project Aware grant. And so the Project Aware grant is using community partnerships to provide mental health services to students and their families. So all that being said, I'm working closely as a director of community schools for Eureka City Schools. We're the largest school district in a tri-county area because we're in very rural California. Our 9 school district is, like I said, we represent 25% of the geographical area of California, but 3% of the population. And being the largest school district in such a vast area comes with its benefits and its problems. But partnering with our county office of education, our school district has been identified as we're in differentiated assistance. So for counties who identify schools in differentiated assistance, being in partnership with the county office of ed really avails us of a lot more resources. So finding out that was part of the community schools that we had the differentiated assistance. Our differentiated assistance is focusing on chronic absenteeism and belonging, which aligns with our community schools model. And so again, that sense of belonging, the connection of caring adults, and the academic enrichment that they provide outside of school can make a child more likely to go to school. So when we're taking our differentiated assistance and community schools model and we're partnering those resources, the great thing that we were able to do within the model of 4 pillars of community schools, we're really looking again at these integrated supports and then how to increase family and community engagement with the developmental triangle. And I will say thank you for the resources on the asset mapping and needs assessment. I'm stealing some of your ideas. But we as a school district decided to launch what we consider and call empathy interviews. And so empathy interviews, it's a rounding model. It's a way of just a very, very clear, specific way of having a conversation that's directed around certain points of conversation. So empathy interviews are intended to build stronger home and homeschool community partnerships, to boost family and school connections. And so I approached our school district. I stated again the need because we're in differentiated assistance and a community school. We have very high chronic absenteeism rates. So we pushed back our first round of report card conferencing, progress report card conferencing that would normally happen in October, and September 12th through 15th, we replaced report card conferences with empathy interviews. And so this was in partnership with the Humboldt County Office of Information. What we did is, our Eureka City Schools strategic plan priority goal number 3 is to increase social emotional wellness, mental health, and family engagement. So again, we're aligning our work with differentiated assistance and our school's district strategic plan. We rolled out before school started. This planning started last year, but before school started, we rolled out 2 1/2-day trainings for all 70 teachers, representing 1,400 students that are enrolled in our elementary schools. We had, before the beginning of the school year, professional development. And we had, this is the tab I'll share now. So this was the training deck that we used. We pulled the teachers into the 2 half days. Humboldt County Office of Ed helped me create this slide deck. The reason behind empathy interviews is we want to build stronger partnerships. We want to boost family home connections, and we want to partner with families to best serve students. Those are the outcomes of a listening session for empathy interviews. And I'll share with you that this is the slide deck I will make all of this. I got permission to share all of this Herminia with Central RTAC. So you're welcome to have all of these slides to share. But what we did is the slide deck for training. We introduced an empathy interview. We modeled an empathy interview. This was the model
Great,
empathy interview that was shared.
Like people see this, it'd be great, but maybe.
I can get this to go. Sorry about that. We'll see. Well, I'll go back to, we had a live practice empathy interview. and teachers got to practice on one another with the empathy interviews. We processed the value of an empathy interview and why belonging is so important. The link to the mock interview is here as well. And what I'll share with you, which everybody wants to know about data. So, oops, okay,
We lost you there for a second. Would you mind repeating that, please?
sure. I've got music going on in the background. I'm not sure. Okay, am I back?
Yes, you're back. Thank you.
Okay. So if I can just come back to this presence. So what I will share with you that we really did is I worked with the County Office of Ed. We came up with 6 questions that we wanted to ask every family in the district. And the 6 questions all had to do with attendance, um, belonging, and those 6 questions were then to collect the data. Every teacher that had an empathy interview input their information into the Google form, and I'm working with the County Office of Ed to disaggregate that data to provide. So we're talking about asset mapping. So this is our great asset mapping opportunity where we're getting that data set from every field. Something good to have that going on.
I'm sorry there. We lost you as soon as you started talking about the asset mapping.
Okay.
Okay, you're back, I think.
So I worked with the County Office of Ed to create the 6 questions for the empathy interviews, and all of the data was collected. The teachers input the information from the empathy interviews into Google Docs, and so the County Office of Ed is able to disaggregate that data, and that's helping us with our asset mapping. And so the teachers will all get their reports, but it's a way to really take a bunch of different partnerships that we have and different initiatives and create an opportunity for the whole school district to have a shift their lens.
Yeah, great. Thank you for sharing that.
Yes.
Is there anything else you wanted to share about the process, or if it's okay, I can open it up for questions if
Sure.
Yeah.
I would be glad to. And I also made all of the slide decks and the sample empathy interviews and empathy interview questions that are, we held those in multiple languages. We used language line, but I'm glad to make that available. But I'm glad to answer questions if there are
Yeah.
any.
Does anyone have any questions for Rhonda? We will be definitely sharing out all of her resources. She just needed to get permission. So we will definitely be sharing out the teacher training along with the 6 questions that were part of the interview. Does anyone have any questions or comments about her process or this particular form of gathering data?
Rhonda, I just want to say thank you on behalf of the Ventura County team for sharing your experience, your resources related to the journey along the way. I'm wondering, given that we only have 3 districts currently out in Ventura County that have already embarked on the planning phase, and I always think of sharing as caring. And I'm wondering if by any chance you might be able to ask your colleagues whether or not they would be willing to share the resources that you used after you synthesized all of the information from CDE as you were onboarding your new districts. So for example, just like the intro to the community school grants, what the allowables were, the non-allowables for those folks that are just starting the journey.
So sounds like a separate question from the interview.
Yes, yes, exactly.
So I just, my brain kind of just went a little sideways because I wasn't really expecting the question. So can you ask me again if you're wanting
Absolutely. So, in looking at the resources that you shared with us this afternoon, the
Yes.
way that you package them are incredibly user friendly. And while the focus for today was needs assessment, I just thought I'd take advantage of this opportunity to see if you might be willing to share your resources from the onset of your journey. Right now in Ventura County, we have 3 of our 19 districts who are currently participating. However, there's significant interest for applying for the next round that's going to be
Oh, got it. Okay. Well,
Can I just interrupt real quick? I just wanted to say, for the sake of time, because we do have another presenter, that Consuelo and Rhonda can connect after
Sure.
this
Thank you.
training, and then you can ask all the questions you want to, Consuelo, and I think Rhonda's very much open to that.
Yes.
But we did actually, getting back to the chat, we do have a question regarding
Sure.
needs and assessments. How did you get the organization to agree to change the parent conferences time into empathy interviews? What was that like?
That's a great question. So I work closely with student services. I worked with our superintendent, and I had worked in a previous school district that already had done empathy interviews for 5 years. So my superintendent for my previous district and I came to this district, we knew the felt value. I made the proposition to the principals of the schools, and I stated why and the research behind it, and knowing that we were in differentiated assistance. And it was really just not hard to argue with the fact that if our first meeting with every family across the district, K-5, was positive, that change and shift the culture of our school for the rest of the year. So it really was from a very pragmatic point of view of we had the capacity in our school district and with the county office of ed to pull off the training. And because we were in differentiated assistance, we could make it be a priority. And
Okay,
so the planning last year,
thank you.
that they absolutely got behind it and helped.
Okay, one more question. Why empathy interviews up to only 5th grade?
That was all I could handle capacity wise. We had our continuation high school that's also a community school. We have 8 schools that are community schools. So our continuation high school, every student participated and every teacher did those at that particular high school. We'll look at scaling it next year, but we couldn't figure out how to get into the middle school, high school format without having the parent conference piece in place. So it will have to look different next year. But what I'm excited about is I'm ready to disaggregate the data with with our county office of ed and look at the data sets are meeting us tomorrow. So
All right, thank you so much for the questions and for sharing, Rhonda. Are you able to share your contact information for those that would like to follow up with you after this training?
oh sure. Shall I just put it in the
If you could put it in the chat, that would be great.
sure.
All right. So thank you so much, Rhonda, for being available to share your experiences with empathy interviews. And we'd just like to kind of, in the interest of time, move on to our next presenter from Salinas Union High School District, Yvette Ramos. So Yvette, go ahead and take it away.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me here today, sharing what we've done. I've enjoyed this process since day one. So let me go ahead and share my screen and tell you about it.
Real quick, does anyone else hear an echo? Or is that just me? Yeah, there's a slight echo. Do you know?
Okay, let me go ahead and grab my headsets to see if that
Okay, thank
Okay.
you.
One.
Again, thank you for sharing your contact information, Rhonda. I think there's a lot of value in definitely our grantees, reaching out to you if they feel like the resource you provided today could help them in their work. And as Consuelo said, if there's other things that you could support them with as far as other questions related to the work, that would be wonderful as well. And we're
Sure.
here for you too, to
Thank you,
give back the favor
Thank you.
if ever needed.
Please share out my slide deck with this team.
Okay.
I did get permission to share everything out, so you're welcome to.
Thank you so much. We will do that.
Okay.
Thank
I'm going to
you.
go
Thank you so much for being here, Rhonda. We appreciate it. Have a good day.
Okay, can you guys hear me
Okay.
better now?
Oh, wonderful. Yes.
Yeah,
That
okay,
works
perfect.
perfectly. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. So now let me just raise up the volume. Okay, here we go. Okay, and can everybody see my screen?
Yes, we can see it.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so my name is Yvette Ramos, and I am the Community School Coordinator Lead for the Salinas Union High School District. And I have been working here in our district for 9 years. 6, I worked with the Migrant Education Program, and 2 with Mission Trails ROP. And so I worked with migrant families, EL families, and students with learning disabilities. So our district is made up of 4 middle schools, 5 high schools, 3 alternative schools, and we have a total of 16,245 students currently. 90% of our students are Hispanic, and 84.1% are socioeconomically disadvantaged, and 23.5% are English learners. We do have a wellness center in each of our schools, and approximately we have between 280 and 320 sign-ins per site per month. So we do plan to anticipate to grow our mental health team staffing. So that's our focus through community schools. So this vision mission that we have here, it's still on the works. And when we attended the National Community Schools Conference, we were able to work together and get the grounding of it on how we wanted to help right through community schools. So all students and families in Monterey County are able to live beyond their potential by feeling safe and supported. So that we're giving that sense of belonging as well. And the reason that we mention Monterey County, not just our district, is because I think the whole purpose of community schools is being a community, right? Just not to our district itself, but being partnered up with everybody, the county, caring for others as well, not just our students. So we want to care for all the youth, for all the families, and just grow in partnerships. So I'm gonna kind of backtrack on how we started. We first, when I came on board, it was already almost a year with our planning grant, year 1. We're currently in year 2. I came on board in February. And what I started doing, I started researching on how to establish an advisory council. That was the first thing. And this toolkit was very helpful for me, the LACO Developing Community Schools toolkit. So this is where I kind of guided myself on who to identify. I did work with a CBO, Building Healthy Communities, which supported me in identifying those key stakeholders that should be part and should have a voice in this process. So we were able to recruit. We have a total of 23 members in our advisory council. And this was just a sample of the invitation that was sent out when we invited them to be part of the advisory council. I included a little bit of what their role was. So we did have our first meeting. In the first meeting, I did explain what my role was, what the role of the members were. We focused on the 4 pillars. We provided a timeline so we can get through the phases that we need to get, and we began on the needs assessment. So I actually, in this link on the needs assessment, it's the document that you shared, Armenia. So I'm not going to open it up. And then also on that document that you shared for the needs assessment, there's another link on bank of questions. So sample questions that we looked at that helped us get started with the process. So awareness, I think awareness was one of the things that we needed to work on for the families, for the parents, for the parents and students to be able to know what community school was,
why were they taking this needs assessment, what we wanted to do, what the intent is. So I started making myself available and members of the committee present on back to school night, during the school clubs, meetings with the principal, during cafecito, ELAC meetings, faculty meetings, community events. We have focus groups, we have informal gathering events as well. So every time that I know that there's an event, I go in there, I take a couple minutes away and start talking about what community schools is. So we began this process with groups. So we had, our focus was in one of the middle schools. We started with a pilot school in Southside Middle School. So in this process, we wanted to bring students that were barely going to enter middle school, current middle schoolers, and students that had just were promoted to high school for our needs assessment. We wanted to find out what they wanted to be asked, what was missing in their school. Did they feel safe? Did they feel safe getting to school? So I'm gonna share what we asked in this survey. And the way that we did it, we looked at each of the pillars and we asked questions related to each of the pillars. So in this first pillar, we talk about the extended learning time and learning opportunities. So if I go over each question, it's probably going to take long because it is kind of lengthy, but we are focusing on each of the pillars when we ask the question. So it is made up of 4 sections, and we got a really good response from the students. So it's been very recent. We rolled out our surveys on October 12th because they were just finalized. We worked hard over the summer. Our advisory council did meet frequently. While everybody was off, they all wanted to join and get this work done so we can send them out as soon as we could. So they did roll out on October 12th. 24 hours later, after our surveys were rolled out, we received 975 responses from the students. So that school has 1,048. So we're less than, I think we're missing like 70 students. So the deadline was a week later. So what we did with the parent one, and the way that it was the same process how we created the parent survey. We did focus it, the 4 pillars. We involved parents, even parents that didn't have students in those schools attended our meeting so we can develop it. I'm sorry. And we decided to do paper because we knew that that was going to be the best way to get responses. And yes, it's going to take a lot more work to gather all the data, but to me, it's worth it. And we really want to know what they need, because I strongly believe that the schools are for our families and they should be having all the resources that they need. So let me just share a little bit how this one, because this one's a little bit more colorful. So we talk a little bit about what community schools is. Again, it's color coded by pillar. So we have if they feel they're getting the right academic support, emotional mental health support, if they feel they're getting leadership opportunities for themselves, for the students, and also asking about their community. So the community part, it is a little bit lengthier, and it was anonymous. And the way that we tracked it is we had a roster for each of the teachers, and we listed all these students, and we just had like an open folder where the student came in, dropped it off, and initialed that they return it. It doesn't require a name to be put anywhere from the parents or the student, but that's how we kept track. And we motivated them by class that brings back 100%, we'll get a pizza party, so everybody was in a rush. We had a really good turnout as well. Like I said, there was 1,048 students, and we received a total of 726 responses in a week. So that worked for us. Now we do have to get to work and analyze the data. and just pilot it in a document. I still don't know how we're going to do that, but we're going to do that. And recently, we also had a community event where I only shared the community engagement part. So in our survey, the blue part, which was the community engagement part, that's what I gave out to the community, and I included a couple more questions there. Do you have any kids in any of our schools? And that's how we found out, but we had a total of 79 responses. And one thing that I do strongly suggest is that first we identify what our assets are. First, to identify what we have, what is already being provided, because we want to list them in our needs, because we want to make sure that all families know if they're even aware of everything. And I think that's something that we have miscommunication. At our district, it's a pretty big district, and sometimes even in here in our district, we don't know. Sometimes I'm like, I didn't know that school offered this, or I don't know that school offered that. So I think that's where we needed to sit down and find out what's being offered, what's available to our students, and do the parents know about it, right? So that's how we got this started. That's what we included in here. And here's another tool that I did want to share. And this is probably after we analyze this, but I mean, it's been working for me. And what I have here is I document per month, per month and per pillar, the projects that we're doing. So as things are coming up, or I'm meeting with people and they want to provide stuff, or they want to bring services to our district, I start documenting what it can look like, what the possible project would be, who would be involved, what the timeline would be. If we've started any work, we are in the planning grant phase and we're not implementing yet, but people are excited and they want to start providing stuff, so we want to partner up with all the people that want to help our district, that want to help our students. So this is a tool that is shared with my administrators. So if they have any questions, what are you working on, what it is, go to the community school map, because you'll find it there. So that's how we started with this. And I know I probably went a little bit too fast, but I am willing to make myself available and share all the tools that we used. But I do strongly believe that we should create these things with everybody involved. We want to make sure that the parents agree what they're being asked, that the students are asked what they would like to express, and we did have questions with open spaces for them to make comments. So they were pretty lengthy. I want to say that the surveys probably did have about 20 to 30 questions. We try to make it easy where they can just check off, but like I said, I also provided spaces for them to give their own input. Any questions? Let me not take my screen away, because I want to see everybody.
Yes, thank you so much for sharing, Yvette. Does anyone have any needs and assets assessment related questions for Yvette on any of the particular sections she did speak on? Go ahead and feel free to ask your question, or go ahead and put it in the chat. I see here from Babette, you are the lead, Yvette. Are there community school coordinators at the site?
No, so far I'm the only one. Once we apply for implementation, we do hope that we do hire community school coordinators at a site level. So like I said, we did start with one pilot school, El Salsal Middle School. We're currently working with 3 additional schools and getting them ready to apply for implementation. So
wow.
We're also working off of this needs assessment that the advisory council created, but we're modifying it so it reflects their community and the things that they serve already.
Okay. How did you get that many community members to complete the survey, and what was the community event you conducted?
So the community event was a Selena Ciclovia event. So there is a lot of people. I don't know yet. It just happened last Sunday, and I don't know what they haven't shared how many people attended, but it was an event, a 4-hour event, and there was a lot of people present. And I think this is the first time I see our district out in the community like that with the booth. So
Awesome.
so I
So
think a
that's
lot of
just,
people
yeah,
saw the logo and they were like, oh, that's where my kid goes to school.
yeah.
So like what's happening here? So I probably had like every time I had like a group of 10, 12 people, I would just tell everybody what community schools was, help me fill out this survey.
Great.
This is going to come back to you. And, just it was,
So
I think it
you
was,
had an event that you were invited to, and you were provided a table to
yes.
inform folks of the resources. Yeah, Salinas Ciclovia is a big event
Mhm.
in Salinas that happens every year. And again, you got to table at that event. So that's a great
Yes.
way to engage the community and get the feedback that you needed. So
Yes, yes. So there was a lot of people who showed interest, and I have another form where I invite them if they want to be part of the committee. I do have, I make it public. Anybody who wants to go in our meetings and make a comment or give their input, everybody is welcome. Mhm.
all right. Any other last minute questions anyone might have? And I did share your email, Eva, in the chat. So if folks wanted to get in touch with you,
Mhm.
just to check in with you on other items later, that
Yeah.
they would be able to do so.
Yeah.
All right.
Janeway,
Thank you
I
so
had
much
a
for
question
sharing.
real quick, if I
Yes.
could.
Yes. Go right
Eva,
ahead.
does your school district anticipate completing the assets and needs assessment prior to submitting for implementation, or do you expect that this is going to continue on past that implementation
Yeah.
grant
No.
application?
I think we are going to be ready. I believe that we're going to be ready. And what has helped is the teacher support. Well, it all comes from the administrator. So my relationship with the principals, it's amazing. I love how they're so invested in this, and they've allowed me to go into their faculty meetings and present to all the teachers. And I can also sense that the teachers are very motivated for this. So them letting their students know how important it is and doing whatever they're doing on their end, because it's obvious that they're bringing them back. I don't know if they're getting extra credit or doing all these points, but they the teachers, they're with us, so they're becoming aware. So I think that's why I brought up awareness. Awareness is a big, that's what's helping. And also next month, first faculty meeting, we're going to give out our staff survey as well. So it is also in the link. Well, we're going to be asking teachers. We want to make sure, and that's the other thing. We want to make sure that they feel that they're being supported, because sometimes, we focus a lot in our students and families, but we also want to take care of our teachers.
Great, thank you. One
Yes,
other
I will be
question?
sharing everything.
Yes, okay, you thought. Perfect, thank you. Yeah, the recording and the presentations, as well as the Yvette and Rhonda's presentation, will be shared in the Central Coast RTAC folder that all grantees have access to. If you have questions about the link, or if you're just not finding that resource, please feel free to reach out to your RTAC program coordinator, and they'll go ahead and assist you with accessing all those resources. But thank you so much, Yvette, for your time today. We appreciate it.
Oh, no, thank you.
So yeah, Edminia, do you want to just project our presentation again, and we'll wrap it up? We got about 6 minutes.
Yes, give me 1 second. And do you want me to continue with the presentation or go to the survey?
Maybe just do some updates.
Okay.
Just because for the sake of time,
Yes.
everyone, we want to respect that it's an hour.
Yeah, so again,
So,
we're all
yeah.
gonna share all of this information with you guys. So again, it's just more resources. And again, everything is linked in the so for example, here you'll see page 13. And again, that is the information that can be found on the needs and asset mapping tool that the STAC put together. In terms of updates, we do want to remind people who were part of cohort 1, whether you're planning or implementation. We have the first report that's going to be due. If you are planning, you only have to do the LEA survey and it's due on the 30th. And in addition to the survey, you will also be submitting the fiscal report as well. If you are implementation grant, which I believe there's only a couple of districts that are implementation cohort 1, that survey will be due. There's 2 surveys for you. So there's the site level survey that's due November 30th, and then also the LEA survey that's due on December 15th. And then in addition to that, as well as the planning grant, you will have to submit the fiscal report on November 30th. So again, these are the dates. If you have any questions about who received this information, it's usually the people that are listed with CDE. So if this is the first time you're hearing about it, please reach out to us, reach out to CDE, reach out to STAC to make sure that the right person is getting the right information. Again, if you are planning cohort 1, the report for LEAs is due November 30th, as well as the fiscal report. If you are implementation cohort 1, the site level progress reports are due the 30th, and the LEA one is due December 15th. STAC updates. So Jeanette, do you want to go over this one really quick?
Sure. So as all of you may have heard, if you're ready to apply for implementation cohort 3, the window for applying is coming up soon. There's many linked resources as far as the blank plan and then example of an implementation plan from cohort 2. Calendar of events, just a reminder to make sure you sign up for those STAC calendar of events. Collective learning space is very helpful. And subscribe to STAC updates. If you haven't already, if you're a new community school person at your site, you may want to make sure you sign up for those updates. Again, RTAC updates, they're on our master calendar. There are days designated in November for in-person quarterly meetings at sites. For details, your program coordinator designated for your county at the RTAC will reach out to you because calendars and schedules have shifted slightly due to availability of everyone. So if you have any questions about that, you can please reach out to your RTAC program coordinator. We will also be making available some peer learning sessions. Exact dates are TBD. They are scheduled to occur next month, December, February, April. That may change. We will all keep you posted and in the loop. We want to make sure the support we're providing is empowering you and not overwhelming you. So we'll let you know specifically when those will happen. Yeah. All right, and we appreciate your time. I did drop the link to the feedback survey in the chat. If you have a QR code reader, go ahead and scan the QR code. As always, thank you for your participation. We want these sessions to be useful to you, and providing voices from the field, I think, is a way to provide you that support, encouragement, and ability to network. So we do aim to connect you with other folks doing this work, and all of these speakers are very much open and supporting of community schools all across California. So feel free, if something resonated with you with one or both of the speakers, please feel free to reach out to them and get their input as far as if you're a new planning grantee, what maybe you can learn from speaking with them and sharing resources.
So again, thank you so much for your time. Again, if you